Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Dian Febriyanti. Today I'm going to present my thesis proposal. The title is Analysis of Violence Against Women as Portrayed in Virginia's Mind, All Others Podcast by Eka Kurniawan. There are some resume of my background on chapter 1. It is stated that some of literary works are reflected the cultural representation of certain genre, and some of them found it as a social problem like violence against women. And then the second is patriarchy system made women suppressed and stereotyped because of their manpower and sexuality. Women are overlooked since they are the subject of marginalization. And then the third is the female characters in the novel that being violated by men is a common issue in patriarchal society, or it can be a tool to explain some privileged society. This is kind of result from the patriarchal culture. It will be analyzed through phenomenon gender-based violence or GBV. I have two research questions. Those are, how is violence against women depicted in Virginia's Mind, All Others Podcast by Eka Kurniawan? And the second is, how does violence against women lead to women's empowerment? Methodology that I used to analyze the proposal or the thesis is the primary data, words, phrases, sentences, action, dialogue between the characters or some quotation in Eka Kurniawan's novel. And then the secondary data are books, articles, journals, thesis, website, social media, and other supporting materials. And data analysis, first, the paper, or me, will examine the types of violence experienced by several women characters. According to the GBV, there are 5 types of violence. Those are physical violence, sexual violence, verbal violence, emotional violence, and psychological violence. And then this analysis will then continue to examine the event and the past life that the women characters experienced in the novel, using Naila Kabir's Women's Empowerment to connecting all the findings related to reaching the women's empowerment after being disempowerment. In analyzing those two topics, feminist point of view will help me to make the better statement and understanding. And those are the definition of the key terms that I used. First, violence against women, a gender-based violence that results in sexual, or psychological suffering to women. And then feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. And the last, women's empowerment, process of increasing women's access to control life choices that affect them and access to realize their capacity. Or it can be a process from being disempowerment to empowerment. And then my theoretical framework, first, to analyze the types of violence, I'm used GBV, phenomenon GBV, and then in feminism issue, I use Simone de Beauvoir, and then violence experienced lead to women's empowerment, I use Naila Kabir. And this is the sample analysis to answering the research question number 1. How is violence against women depicted in Virginia's Mind, All Others Podcast by Eka Kurniawan? I use theory or phenomenon of gender-based violence, and the method is thematic analysis, and the analysis resulted in 5 types of violence. And I can conclude that the several types of violence that can affect women's characters are still called as violence, no matter how small or big the impact is. And this is the analysis, sexual violence on women character. It depicted on the novel, page 25. It is about Scarlet Blush, a madman who being raped by 2 policemen. And the second is physical violence, depicted in page 21. It also received by Scarlet Bloss. She has been kicked by 2 policemen, and this is kind of physical violence on women characters. And then the third is emotional violence, depicted in page 41, received by Young Widow, and it stated that she no longer cared about the other pain. And the definition of emotional violence is happen in the outside of the body and affected inside them. Perhaps it's not leaving a wound in the outside, but might be inside. The fourth one is verbal violence on women character, depicted in page 175, received by Nina. The last violence is psychological violence. It occurred Itung in page 27. I'm sorry, it occurred Scarlet Plus again on 27. And then my second research question is, how does violence against women lead to women's empowerment? Using theory Simone de Beauvoir, 1949, and Naila Kabir, 1999, using thematic analysis. And the analysis is, one female character named Itung is the one who can survive and made herself stronger and unbeatable women. I can conclude that in spite of being the victim of any kinds of violence, Itung is changed from disempowerment human being to empowerment women. She actually received sexual violence, but I didn't mention in the previous slide. This is the evidence on the page 44. When she was in fight with Ajo Kawir, and then Ajo Kawir said that he had to admit to himself that her powerful blows hurt more than the man punched most men through. So in the patriarchal society where women are take place in second places and not being published of their capability in overcome the difficulty, make male character Ajo Kawir amazed of what Itung has done to him. This could be a milestone of women's empowerment after hidden away for a long time. Also a validation of what women as an individual are having power, and sometimes it is stronger than men. And the second is, she was stand up against sexual harassment. After being sexually harassed by her former teacher in the school, Itung come back with a vengeance. She seduced him until he naked and punched him hard too unconsciously. When he fell down, Itung grabbed his clothes and made him naked during the school. Women's empowerment could be defined as the ability or self-confidence to make choices or change in life. Through this part, Itung could make change to her life by finally stand out and do what she wanted to do in the past that never been realized. So I think that's all. And those are the reference that I use in write the proposal. Thank you so much.